Welcome to the week of March 23rd. During this week, we're going to be focusing on methods of data analysis. All right, so as you all know, right before spring break, we collected our data during our focus group interviews. Hopefully all of you have at least started to think about the idea of transcribing your interviews, which are going to be due, posted on Blackboard by no later than Friday, March 27th. But I'll get to the deadlines for this week later on. But as you remember, we all worked on our focus group interviews. We collected that data, and pretty soon we're going to be having that in a physical form that we can work with through the transcripts. That's our data for our project. As you're going to see on the PowerPoint slides, and I'm going to encourage you to turn to those next, I'm going to talk a little bit about a project that I did that involved a lot of data. You're going to be thinking as you're reading through the transcripts for our project that that's a lot of data, and it is a significant amount of data, but the project that I'm going to describe was a project that took about 19 years. And it didn't start out taking 19 years. It started out with me thinking that there was something really interesting as I stood in Walmart and looked on the aisle where the tabloids are, and I happened to see something that was interesting to me about an article about Michael J. Fox, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting addition to a chapter I was working on for another book. And so that started my project on celebrity health narratives. Over that 19 years, every time I would see something about a celebrity in the news, I saved it. And then after about 5 years of doing that, I thought, you know what, this is really super interesting. So I started to pursue it even more. Anytime something would happen, like that's my dog Coco. Yeah, Coco's really irritating, and so she barks a lot. Trixie will join her pretty soon. Buddy the golden, I'll post a picture of Buddy because Buddy doesn't do that. Anyway, so I started going online, and so when stars would go on 60 Minutes or the Today Show or something like that, I would order the transcripts of those interviews. As I started broadening this, I actually asked an HTC student to help me with the project, and then over the years I actually brought in a couple of graduate students. And so by the end of this 19 years, in my old office in Lasher Hall, I had data completely stacked underneath my big work table, underneath my desk, mounds and mounds and mounds of data. And then I realized I was going to have to move because we were getting moved to Schoonover. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I can't just keep hoarding all this data basically, because I hadn't time to do anything with it because of other projects. And so I asked 4 graduate students to come on board with me, and we started going through all of that data. Mounds and mounds of data. And you know, as you're going to see on the PowerPoint slides, we had about 150 by the end of the data. We had all of these different celebrities who had had some interaction about basically a health issue that had happened with them or their loved one, and then they decided that they were going to speak up about it. We decided to rule out any data where somebody was paid, and that's important. Celebrities oftentimes get paid to do commercials or things like that to testify about the benefits of a particular medication or something like that. We ruled those out because that was substantively different. Instead, we focused on celebrities who, for them, it was personal and they weren't being compensated about it, even though that's not to say that they weren't in the business of trying to raise money for the cause. So we ended up with about 157 celebrities and their stories. And so as we were looking at this, we were really guided by one research question, and that research question was, how do celebrity personal health narratives function in terms of the impact on people and policy? And so with your focus group interviews and your project you're doing about bullying, you have about 2 or 3 research questions that you're trying to answer. We had this one overarching one that really did guide us through our project. So as we went through our data, we sorted and looked at different ones, and we could have sorted it in a number of different ways. We could have sorted it as type of celebrity. We could have sorted it as type of illness, but we were only interested in this, how did it function? And so you see the difference between the research question impacting how it is that we were going about sorting our data. But we had all this data, how are we going to present it? And that's really the challenge for you all this week, is how do you go through this data? What are you going to do with it? How do you present it? So for this week's class assignment, I'm going to have you look at a documentary that's actually kind of fun. It's not the documentaries that we had planned to watch because those aren't available for free anywhere, and I wasn't going to have you pay any money for this. So it's actually something called a blockumentary because it's about a bunch of Lego fans. They are actually adult fans of Legos. So for any of you who enjoyed Legos when you were kids, these are individuals who have taken this throughout their lives, and the documentary producers gathered all of this data and then put it together in this 25-minute documentary. So what I want you to do as you look through that is be thinking about how it is that they organize their data, how it is that they presented all this. Now, you can't possibly know all of the footage that ended up on the cutting room floor. You can't possibly know that. But what I am asking you to do is to look at that and think about some of the arguments that they were trying to make. And what I have done is I've uploaded a discussion board post for you. And here's where I'm going to kind of segue from talking about the material for just kind of giving you an overview of data analysis and moving to what you're going to be doing with it this week. Next week, we're going to be looking at exactly how it is that you start coding your data, how it is you start thematizing. But this is going to get us started with it. So what I'm asking you to do for this week, and this is all outlined in the syllabus, is read chapter 8. That's going to get you started with data analysis. So read chapter 8 of your book. You haven't had any reading to do for a while. It's a short chapter. It's going to be great. Watch the blockumentary, and the link for that is uploaded under class activity number 6 as well as under content on Blackboard. So you're going to watch the blockumentary. It's going to be fun. It's a fun one. When I get to teach my fandom class, I show it. So this is a kind of a treat for you. So what I'm asking you to do is look at the 3 main claims in this documentary. What are the 3 main things that this producer, the people who created this documentary, are trying to argue? And then how do they support those claims? And there are no right or wrong answers, right? It's going to show that whether or not you watched it or not, but you don't have to worry about a right or a wrong. I'm interested in your perspectives. And here's how we're going to work the discussion board post. The first person who posts just posts their feedback. But there's a treat for a benefit for posting first. As I say in the syllabus, the early bird gets the worm. So usually individuals are going to have to respond to at least 3 people who post in the class so we get some discussion going. But if you are one of the first 3, you only need to respond to the people above you. So if you're the very first person to respond, you don't have to comment on anybody else's. So if you wanted to do this assignment today and do that, and you're the first person, you don't have to respond to anybody else's post. If you're the second person to post, you only have to respond to that first person. And if you're the third person to post, you only have to respond to those 2 people ahead of you. Otherwise, everyone in the class will post something as well as respond to the post of 3 of their peers so we can get some interaction going. If you have any questions about how the discussion board works, please just email me. But all discussion board activity must be concluded by no later than midnight on Friday, March 27th. So that's the big assignment for the week. The second big assignment for the week is finishing up your transcripts. So all of your assigned transcripts, and some of you have been assigned to 1 transcript, others of you have been assigned to 2, but all of your transcription work must be done and uploaded on the designated Blackboard thread, discussion board thread, by no later than midnight on Friday, March 27th. And because we are in Eastern Standard Time, that is the time that we are going to stick with. So if you are traveling or someplace else right now, that is the time we're sticking. We're sticking with the Eastern Standard Time zone. Okay, so midnight in Ohio. So that's what we're doing this week. If you have any questions, please just email me. I'm happy to help or clarify in any way possible. For this particular week, we don't have any group time set up, so you don't need to be with your group unless you want to start reaching out to your group and saying, hey, how is this going to work once we get to April? But for now, that's what we have to. If you have any questions, please just email, and I hope you enjoy watching the blockumentary, and I look forward to reading your transcripts. Have a great week.